go for it. So I'm just going to ask you whether you got any other thoughts on the photography industry and, you know, any insights, any wisdom.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is when I meet people, I would feel like I'm in the middle somewhere in my bracket of how long I've been doing this to people that have been doing it longer and people just getting into it. So people just getting into it looking for words of advice would be, well, educate yourself. If you're going to choose photography, educate yourself on photography. In the sense of whether it's actually going to get in a formal education or it's working under somebody who's going to pass their craft on to you. Always listen and always ask questions. It's funny that you say it's hard for you to find a photographer to talk. I find in general, well, photographers, there's several different breeds of us in the sense that we're behind the camera for a reason. You know, even if they don't want to be in front of the camera. And so I feel like maybe they're more quiet souls and that's why they don't necessarily really want to talk about their work or photography. But I feel in general, on a more one-to-one basis, people love to share their craft.
Yeah.
So for anybody getting into it, I would always say, just ask questions. Never be afraid to ask somebody who's in it. If you like their work, like anything, that interests them, or, any little tidbits you can take away from somebody who's been in the industry, I always be open to that because it's going to help you. You may not know it when you're getting it, but it's going to help you in the future. Get into photography, period, not just wedding photography. It's kind of, the equipment is so expensive that you really have to, because I feel like once you pick, whether you're doing Canon, Nikon, depending what brand you pick, once you pick a brand, that's kind of where you're going to be living for a long time because you start collecting your lenses, you start doing this. So I think do your homework in history. And it's also about personally what feels good to you.
Yeah.
But so just be aware of that you're going to be making a big investment. This is where you want to go. Because once you start with a brand, you typically stay with that brand because it's too expensive to totally switch. And
sorry, that's really interesting. No, that's really interesting. So I always thought, oh, there you go. So I always thought that the certain photographers, no, I'm a Canon user, and I thought it was almost like a religious thing. So you're telling me it's actually a practical thing.
No, because I'm a Canon user, but the reason I became a Canon user was when I started photography and doing school, my first camera was an AE1 program Canon. And granted, when I went digital, I could have flipped over to Nikon or Pentax or any of the other ones. But it was just, I had already started with Canon, and so I stuck with it. And you become a purist, like, oh, I'm a Canon shooter, but I shoot Nikon too. I mean, I can fit, it's just the buttons are in slightly different areas. Yeah. If you can shoot a camera, you can shoot a camera. But I personally think it's more about the initial investment. And once then that puristy thing comes out, I think after you're already in it, you're like, no, I shoot this. But I think initially it's just because no one's got enough money nowadays to switch over to a whole different company.
Oh, thanks very much for bursting my bubble. I thought there was something other than that. So that's clearly not the case.
That's my 2 cents. I don't know what anybody else feels, but that's my 2 cents.
Let's roll with that. Works with me.
There you go. So any other words of wisdom? I think to assist other photographers, doesn't matter, I think, what it is, whether it's like a fashion shoot and you're doing studio strobes, if it's weddings, if you're wanting to get into weddings, definitely go be a photographer's assistant or their second shooter. I think just to build up the skill set to understand the flow of what you're doing, because weddings are, it's kind of like reporting, like reporters, it's shooting life on the go. Yeah. Weddings are quick and dirty, and you have to be very, very, you have to be able to go with the flow and just capture things as they're happening, because there is no big, you can set some stuff up. You went through this, you got married, and you have some times when you can kind of set some stuff up, but it's like during the whole ceremony and stuff, you guys aren't going to stop for us to pose for a picture. You're there to do your business, and we got to capture it. So I feel like people, to get that experience and start working under other people just to see. And when you get into weddings and religion and all that, all the ceremonies are different. And so you're starting to learn, like, is this a 2-hour Catholic service wedding, or is this a quick and dirty? I think just getting exposure that way really, really helps the newcomers. Any other insights? Don't you don't always have to pay for the best of the best equipment wise to get a good photo. I feel like people always, it's kind of like that ego thing, like I'm a Canon shooter or whatever, I'm shooting this, people get to talking about and they want the best of the best and the most expensive, but I still feel like you get a lot of quality. That it's a tool, and what captures that picture that helps you capture it, but really you're the boss of it. And so granted, yes, the lenses are where the quality comes from, not necessarily the camera body. But working on a budget, you can do a lot. It's all smoke and mirrors.